Hey all, Zook here with another guide for Dark Souls 2 bosses. This time we're going to take a look at Scorpioness Najka, the boss which you'll find at the end of the Shaded Woods. She hits fairly strong for an early game boss and doesn't give you much space to back off and heal, so she tends to be one of the first big roadblocks for new players. So you're going to want to make sure that you learn her move set, understand which moves can be punished, and know how to bait out those attacks which can be safely punished. For this boss, she's going to be weak to fire damage and thrust weapons like the rapier. She resists magic, so avoid using sorceries if that's what you've been using so far. And as for buffs to use during this fight, my recommendation is use a gold pine resin. You can pick one up in Things Betwixt, or buy it from Vengarl in the Misty section of the Shaded Woods. Even if it isn't her biggest weakness, lightning damage is much more accessible than fire damage at this point in the game. And you might also consider using a Bright Bug for this fight, just because you want to try and kill her using as few attack cycles as possible, so that she can't jump away from you and try to use one of the sorceries that are hard to dodge. In my inventory, I'll always have my healing items, and then I'll also put in the resin that I'm using, just so that I can apply it after I walk into the fight. For my rings, I'll equip Silver Serpent, Ring of Blades, Old Leo Ring, and now I'm also adding in Chloranthy +1, which you can grab from the iron chest just down the hill from the Shaded Ruins bonfire. My weapon of choice is going to be my Rapier +4, although you can use other thrust weapons. I might even consider using the Fire Longsword, available in Force of the Fallen Giants by the Salamander Pit. So let's go ahead and take a look at different attacks which you might see her do, before we take a quick look at an example fight and another shameless strategy that you can use if this boss is really giving you a bunch of trouble. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and look at a fair fight against Najka. Now, as we enter into the fight, we are going to run over to the right side and apply gold pine resin while hiding behind this tree trunk for safety. And you should expect her to cast a single soul spear for the first attack, since she doesn't normally cast soul geyser the first time. After this, we're going to run out from behind the tree trunk and get her to emerge from the ground, and our whole strategy is to position ourselves behind her in one of those two spots hugging the back leg. Now, if you happen to be directly behind her, as I am right here, you can still make it work. Hopefully she'll do the tail slam, which lets you actually punish more times than the stinger swipe attack. But the only problem is if you're directly behind her, she's prone to jumping to the side a lot more, as she does right there. If that happens, don't panic. Try to get back. She might turn around, and as you see, when she turns around, I immediately create as much distance as possible, because either she's doing the soul mask, which I want to be backed up for, or she's going to probably try to do one of her spear thrusts like she did right there, or the pincer attack, which are super fast. So now that she's going to do a tail stab, so this stinger stab attack, I'm going to run behind her since she doesn't have soul mass active. So when I position myself back against her back leg, she's going to do the tail swipe, which is perfect. That lets me get in 3 punishes, then I reposition, and fight's over at this point. So really just keep trying to get behind her when it's safe, and just roll backwards away from her if she's facing you head on. Don't over punish. Don't attack her while she's choosing her next attack, since that just makes her more likely to jump away. As for the second method, we're going to use this pseudo safe spot that you can make for any build which utilizes ranged attacks. Now, note that I'll be fighting Najka with a different character on NG Plus for this video, just because the original NG fight actually went by so quickly with this method that I wasn't able to actually showcase any of her attacks in 2 or 3 attempts. So we'll start off the fight the same way, where we hide behind that tree trunk, but instead we're now going to come over towards the fog gate, and we're gonna hide right with this branch on the left that's on the ground, that little spindly thing. And we're going to try to bait out some attacks. Unfortunately, I get Soul Mass and Soul Geyser, so I have to kind of kite this attack around the tree trunk. But ideally, instead of casting any sorceries at this point, she would just start running at you as she's about to do right here. And the reason why that's ideal for her to start running at you, as you can see, is that she can't reach you. So she's limited to either her Soul Geyser, which you're about to see here, her homing Soul Mass, or she can submerge. If she does submerge, we're just going to head over here, deal with this attack the exact same way that we would have, even if we weren't fighting her this cheesy way. And wait for her to pop up out of the ground, and then we're just going to bring her back over to the fog gate and try to reset this. So just be careful that when you are trying to bait out attacks at the fog gate, try not to be behind her so that you don't accidentally get a tail swipe going, because the tail swipe and the tail slam can break the tree trunk, which you do not want to happen, because the tree trunk only spawns once per new game cycle. So if the tree trunk breaks, then this strategy is useless. But now I'm going to position myself, and you can see this wall poking out from the bottom left side of the screen, which is exactly where I want to be, because what I've found is that if you're too far away or if you're too close, well, too far away means that she's going to do her sorceries, too close means that she's going to do a pincer attack, which might also break the branch. So ideally, you'd be this perfect distance where she isn't going to do any attacks, or even if she does, you're still far enough away that you can dodge any of the sorceries. But the last thing that I'll mention is one other cheese strat, which I actually haven't made a video for this, but I did find a video on YouTube that details how to do this. It's called the Najka Rider, or at least that's what I call it, because you can hop up on her back after a tail slam. So if you're curious about that, go ahead and check the description down below. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.